All right, good afternoon, everyone, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today alongside our Sales Director, Sam. Welcome to today's webinar, Sales User Training, WeOpportunity 101, Lead Creation and Management. In this webinar, you'll learn the essentials to confidently master your CRM, and we will cover the full sales workflow from creating and managing leads and opportunities to promoting leads into estimates and reporting on your sales pipeline so nothing slips through the cracks. And after this webinar, you'll be able to customize your dashboard to match your workflow, create new leads from both prospecting and inbound sources, and manage leads and opportunities, including updating opportunity details, tracking tasks and notes, adding contacts, promoting leads into estimates, and viewing and analyzing pipeline reports. So if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask. If you need us to slow down, revisit a point, or dive deeper into something, just drop your questions in the chat. All right, thank you, Sam. Let's dive right in.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. We have a good turnout today, so we're going to go through a lot of good stuff. And then I do have a awesome preview to the brand new WeOpportunity coming to Quote Anywhere for everyone very soon. So let's stick with the current agenda. And I want to go through some dashboard items, and then we are going to create some leads together, manage the different tasks and things you can do within an opportunity, and then move those over into estimates. So starting with customizing your dashboard, I always like to bring this up at the beginning of a WeOpportunity training call. Whether you are new to WeOpportunity or since it is a new year, you will want to go to your name in the top corner and click My Settings and go through all the various settings here and change anything that needs to be updated. So the first tab, you're going to be able to reset your username and password, update any personal information, and then you'll see there's some other quick defaults that you can save. And then the dashboard itself, you'll want to edit, and there are two different dashboards that you can customize. I won't go through all the bells and whistles of this because there is a full tutorial on our online video library, which I'll show in a moment. But you get to essentially store things like, how far out do you want to see upcoming tasks? There's a nice bucket called untouched leads where you can set, how long does a lead need to be untouched for it to fall into that bucket. Setting your statistics for the next year. So I would go ahead and change this to 2026 now for my demo user. And I would go ahead and change all these to 2026 also. So go ahead and I'll save that. Now the classic dashboard is the one that you see here that has some of the different graphs and things. There is also a second dashboard called the accounts dashboard. I'll show that to you momentarily. But that can also be set with a few defaults, and there are some custom fields that you as an organization can customize any number of fields and then save that at the account level. So you might see none in your drop downs. And so this is also something you can configure, but if you wanted to build custom fields, so here's a bunch that I have, you can add those. Then for syncing your calendar, all the auto sync information is going to be stored here. So to sync with your Outlook calendar, we will need to set up the entire system to sync with your Outlook 365 on the IT side. So that's step one. And then step two would be each individual user then authenticating their accounts and hooking to your actual email, or really the calendar and the contacts is what syncs. And so that's here. And then there are also some lead settings here. Sometimes I get questions like, hey, I swear I put in that lead, but I can't find it. And it may be that it's set to current week or last week. I personally like to set everything to all. So with that being said, the default dashboard that you choose, which actually I'll just show one more time. If I go to this default dashboard view, just as which dashboard is the first one you want to see when you log in. I have mine set to the classic, but you could always flip to the account dashboard if you want. Okay, and so I did mention the video library. If you don't have this bookmarked, if you go to wesuite.teachable.com, this is a full library of how-to videos, and we're actually revamping a lot of this now with a lot of our new product and features coming out. But you will see a lot of the good old-fashioned reliable videos for kind of 101 for onboarding a brand new user. And WeOpportunity user training has an entire course on just configuring your dashboard. So there's a 7-minute video there you can always go to and reference if you want a more field by field walkthrough and tours of the two other of the two dashboards. Okay, coming back to WeOpportunity, I'm going to create a new lead first as if it was either inbound to the organization or self-generated. I will bring up the prospecting module a little later in the call, but we did a whole session last month on building your prospecting plan and promoting those prospects into leads. Essentially, if you are, I'll just show it briefly, and then I'll go back over to this. But let's say you've set goals of prospecting activities that you're going to do. And I'm going to go to 2025 for now in December. That's where I set my plan. So let's say, I was supposed to do 100 cold calls. I only did 3. But of those 3 cold calls, I got 2 appointments. And those appointments are converting things to leads. So for a more in-depth walkthrough of the prospecting module, I would definitely re-review our December webinar posted on our website. It goes through setting up your whole prospecting plan, quota goals. I also, you have commission goals, good way to plug that in here, and then actually putting the activity report together so you can start having an easy way to enter in prospects. Those eventually turn into leads, and then leads move into quotes. But if I just, I'm going to stick with kind of the basics first. And many of you probably seen the blue plus sign here at the top. This is a quick way to go to quickly create a new lead. And it's the same thing as going to the lead management tab here. That will just land you on view first, and then you would go to new opportunity, but it essentially is a quick way to get you right to that screen. And so I always advise to first start by searching. So if I type in Valley Hospital, I will immediately see results popping up in my database. And I am also syncing to an accounting system. And so any results of customers, site, billing, addresses, contacts will be reading from those databases as well. So you won't have to re-enter any current customer information. And so I always like to do this just to be sure that there is not some old opportunity or customer record in there that you can, if something's coming back to life and it is truly new, you would hit start new customer opportunity. However, if you were doing more work for a current customer, you would select the customer itself, could even drill down to the specific site address and then hit go at the bottom. So brand new customer, the start new at the top, and current customer, you drill down as far as you'd like to go and then hit go. You might only click customer, but we're going to do a new site. So yes, current customer, hit go, but you'll see on the next screen, I won't have site auto-filled. And I do want to mention, you probably saw this tab light up as well. If you do have current projects or leads happening at this customer, or like let me use this customer, I have 59 projects under this customer, but if I drill down to 155 Lafayette, 7 of those 59 are at that site. So it's really just boiling it down for you. And there is advanced search, and you can have different drop down here if you want, if you type in just Joe because it's the name of the customer, but you don't want all the contacts named Joe, you can say just filter by only customer name, or any of these more focused filters. So I will save from creating a brand new customer. I'm going to do a new lead for a current customer just to save some typing, but it brings you to the same screen. I'm going to hit go. And if you are allowed to keep or pass leads, it will show you this screen. If you can only do one or the other, it will just automatically bring you in that direction. But for those of you like myself that are a selling sales manager, you might want to do one or the other. I'm going to keep it right now. And then you would see this screen as either entirely blank or somewhat filled out because I already picked a current customer and current site. This is also an opportunity that if I said, no, it's actually a new location, I can do that even though I'm still putting it under the current customer umbrella. But I'm going to go ahead and go with a site I already have. Similar with contact, I already have a number of contacts at this current customer. It will highlight in this orangish color as well if it's coming from an accounting system. Again, I use this customer a lot, so there's quite a number of duplicates. But the black and white versus the highlighted colors, the highlight is, hey, this is coming from the accounting system. And if it's black and white, it may be that it was entered in WeSuite at some point, but never actually became a customer or became a new contact over on your accounting side. So I'm going to go ahead and click George, and that'll autofill, or of course I could enter in something new. Any of the red starred fields or the minimum required fields, your system admins can control this. So if they want to make a new field as a required field, they can do that under settings. And if you see that they're grayed out, it's again because it's coming from accounting. And accounting is the master database. So if you change it in accounting, it would change on the WeSuite side. Contact type is a data list, one of many we're going to encounter. So not everyone uses this dropdown, but it is a nice way to categorize your contacts by type outside of just title. And so I'll say he's the decision maker. And if I want to just use the same address for the contact, I can use these copy to buttons. So just hit copy from customer and it fills that in for me. Now the validate button is nice. If you went ahead and entered a new contact and then hit validate, it's going to say, hey, I found some similar data. Are you sure it's none of these people? And in that case, you could say, oh yeah, it is actually that person. I don't want to create a duplicate. Otherwise, you could say, no, this is truly a new contact and I don't want to do that. And if you are syncing with Outlook, you can import a contact from Outlook or vice versa, export a contact to Outlook if you've entered it in WeSuite first. And then that way you don't have to fill it all again out on the Outlook side. Moving right along, we will go to continue. And once I hit this button, I've now officially created lead number 14205. And so it now has its own tab open for this lead. And so I can always go back to lead management and create another new lead or work on some other leads that I already have going. I'll come back to that in a second. But you can have as many leads open as you want. And like a browser, it'll just continue to stack up tabs. So within this highlighted tab of lead number 14205, I have then these 6 or 7 tabs within the opportunity to continue to update info. So the opportunity info tab, I kind of call this the home base of the lead. This is where you're going to fill in the classic, how did the lead come in? Incoming call. How did they hear about us? Well, it's a current customer, but I'll just say they saw us at a trade show. Market vertical is healthcare. Type of sale is going to be, they're adding some new services or it's a new install. These drop downs are all, again, configurable by your organization. You can create them as required. So you can see these 3 I have to fill in. And so again, maybe someone in the office is qualifying the lead, entering it, but they don't know what the type of sale is going to be. So they're going to fill in these 3 at least before they're allowed to hit save. And so if there, again, is anything missing from these drop downs that you think is important to track, I would bring that up to your system admin. And you can also deactivate things that are no longer relevant, right? If your lead source was a campaign that you did and now the campaign is over, you can always deactivate it, but you do have it for historical purposes. And the rest of the fields, again, are really just available, and I see some people use them all. Some people have only selected certain ones that are important to the reporting that their team runs. And again, if it's a current customer, you might not fill in every bell and whistle and pretty much create the lead and go straight to a quote, which is what a lot of people do. But if the customer said, yeah, I have a $5,000 budget and we know they're probably going to do, some remote video monitoring and things with us, and that'll be $200 a month, and we're going to do an integrated access and video system. This is the title of the lead, which will eventually be the title of the job and the proposal. And so you're only really entering in things once. A couple dates as well. I'll say I think this will close by the end of next month. Pipeline is another customizable drop down. We'll say this is at the initial scope step, and maybe I'm happy with that. Now, I will say for those of you, our stages are very specific to stages that link to further qualifying leads, moving to a quote, and then eventually a quote being sent to the customer. I use Pipeline. I coach a lot of teams to use Pipeline as um, more in-depth custom stages that you can track within the system. So in my system, for example, I have discovery call, demonstration, budget review, contract review, decision, right? And so I can filter all my leads by, hey, who's at this step and who's at that step. So by using Pipeline in that way, it really helps to kind of further categorize leads in certain buckets. And another piece that's really nice is that there's actually two entries here. You enter in a percentage and what the percentage means to the organization. So by saying this is at 25%, it actually weighted my estimated value of this lead as 25% of the budget that I entered in. So for those of you, you have a 1 in 5 close ratio, you have your quota, you want 5 times that in your funnel at any given time, and it will help to calculate that for you. And some other just nifty tools here. If you want to share this lead with somebody else, I can click this and see who I can share with. If you're missing, there's a person here that you want to share with that you don't see. It's just a permission that needs to be done under the hood that your admins can do. And there's also a nice feature called questionnaires, which, hey, in addition to the above, I want to be able to ask some quick questions and have fill-in answers. So, you're interested in home automation? Yes. Do you currently have a system? No. And you can, again, in your system admin can create different questionnaires. Now, I like questionnaires for that reason, for answers to specific questions, but you, of course, do have notes. And notes is a running note tab. So I can say, working with George, updating their system, site walk tomorrow. And so this will time date and user stamp. I use speak to text notes quite often, and coming very, very soon is our AI tools, so that will start to record your voice and enter in notes. But one other feature I really like is this notify owner. So if you are not, if someone else wrote a note in your lead, this notify owner would be automatically checked, and you would get an email notification that someone wrote, hey, Sam, the client has to reschedule the call. You'd see that as an email notification, and then could, enter into that lead and change whatever you need to change. I also personally auto check this myself sometimes when I want an email notification to show in my inbox as a reminder to do something. So I might say, sending proposal today, and that will also be an email in my inbox that reminds me I need to do that. Products and services, not highly used, but like questionnaires, you could customize. It allows you to just, rather than writing War and Peace in the notes, quickly say, hey, this person's interested in, interior cameras and, access control and video monitoring. And then it just says, cool, they're interested in those 3 things. It doesn't sync with the quote. It's really just like a pick list, but again, helpful for something like that, just a quick, this person's interested in this, and that. Tasks and schedule. Again, if you're syncing with Outlook and you don't see any appointments, that means there's something that, needs to be fixed on the sync side, but you would see all the times you're already busy. And then you could go ahead and schedule, tomorrow at 10 a.m., I'm going to do a job walk. And this task type drop down is also a customized drop down by your team. Some have even, put 1, 2, 3, 4 to put these into a specific order. But that way I can just say, yep, we're doing a job walk. Go ahead and schedule that. And now this will auto sync to my Outlook as well. Now, I do get a lot of questions. This is really just a split screen view. That same task I have on the calendar view is now just here as a task in this grid as a list. So if you like to work from the calendar view, scroll down. But the other benefit is if I wanted to say, create a task, and I don't want to put it on my calendar necessarily. I just want to say, this RFP is due on, you know, February 18th at 8 a.m., I can go ahead and do that. I skip selecting all of this when I just double click on the calendar. But that way I can say, hey, it's important if I want. There's the task. I see the task here. I have to do that on February 18th. But if I were to move to February 18th over here, it doesn't go on my calendar unless I click add to calendar. So if you just want to put, as an example, a lot of people, maybe they do cold calls and they're going to say, yep, I called this guy back. He didn't answer. I'm going to complete. I did that follow-up call. And now I'm going to schedule another task and I'm going to call him again a week from now and check on him and just do that. So, oh, it needs a task type, follow-up call. And so maybe I don't want to clog my calendar up with a ton of little appointments like that. But if you do want to mark it on the schedule, you can go ahead and do that. Any questions about this piece? Because I feel like this is the one I get the most questions about, and I'll stop for questions again later. But calendar sync or not, using WeOpportunity is a quick way to say, yep, I add a task. I met with the customer on this date and time, and adding some notes about what happened is the whole point of the CRM, right? And that way when you go to history, you get all that good history of, hey, I did 5 demos with this person and this is how long we've been talking. And I don't ever leave a meeting without putting in some notes and completing a task. And you can also look at your overall calendar and see all the tasks you did for the month or what's upcoming or all that good stuff. Customer info is where I would edit or add any info to the customer in terms of site and billing and contacts. So if I needed to edit the site address or edit the customer, this is also where you would change customer. And if you accidentally created a new Valley Hospital when it's really a current customer Valley Hospital, I can go to change customer, pick the right one, and then it'll switch to that customer instead, or I picked the wrong site or something. Or if something's just purely misspelled, just edit it and hit update. Same with site address. I can quickly add billing right now. However, it will ask me to add billing later when I go to the quote, so I'll do that then. And then I do have George as the main contact, but if I had, any other contacts that I'm working with at this lead, I can go ahead and enter them in. You will have one main point of contact. So let's say Samantha is another contact of mine.
So she was eyeballing
and add. So now George and John are both contacts here, and I can change John to being the main contact, and that would switch George out. But you do need one main point of contact, and that's who the proposal is going to say it's to, and who the DocuSign is going to go to, and all of that stuff. Okay. History, pretty straightforward, running log of your history, but what is also a nice feature is the send message tab. Again, not heavily used, but very helpful for specific purposes. Purpose of this was, hey, I'm on the phone in a call center and say, great to talk with you today, Mr. Customer. Here's a confirmation of your appointment. Think of it like an open table reservation that you get. No one's really meant to respond to that email. It's really just a confirmation. And you can say, yep, send this to George, and, great to speak with you, George. We'll see you tomorrow. However, I do see a lot of people use this as a way to communicate things within the organization. So I can send a note to, I don't have any shared owners on this job, but had I said, I'm going to share this lead with my 2 engineers, Alex and Arturo, I could then in send message say to, oops, sorry, I'm bopping around too much, to those 2 people, Alex and Arturo, I could say, I could write an email, I could add attachments, hey, here's the drawings or pictures that I took, and those attachments and the message all stay and store in the history. So it is a quick way. I mean, I've done this where I just sent an email to myself because it has to go to somebody, but I took a bunch of pictures of the site, I attached all the pictures, and now that those all stay attached in the history of the lead. So cool feature if you use it a little differently than how it was designed, or you can use it exactly, as is. And then of course, passing a lead, if you're the person in the organization assigning lead to other people, or you want to just reassign this lead to someone else, pass lead will give you the opportunity to pass to another person or to an office, which could be one or more people could be assigned to this office and they all get notification a lead has been assigned there. Or you could also create pass groups, which is the same as office, but you can say, maybe you need a little more detail than office. You just say, hey, to this team of people, inside sales, outside sales, I want to pass a lead there. And then anyone who's a member of that group would then actually do the final assignment to a person. But what is important is that a lead will sit in a kind of pending bucket until it's really been assigned to an individual salesperson. And you can also, if you want to, indicate what someone is strong in, which is cool. So all of these tabs, you'll continue to come back to as you further qualify the lead. But the main name of the game here is we want to move this to a quote. And so I am going to change the stage. Now, you might have noticed earlier it was at a lead stage. It has automatically moved itself to an opportunity stage because I created my very first task. So that is a feature just built right in. As long as you've created a task, it knows to move it from a cold lead to a warmer opportunity. I personally like that a lot because you can distinguish between new leads and things still kind of getting started and leads that are in process. And so if I see it's in opportunity, then I usually look to pipeline to see, okay, where are we in our stages of the sales cycle? And I can say, well, we set our first appointment, or no, we're already on the defining, we're already on the job walk stage or something. So really the only time you have to physically change status is when you're ready to go to a quote, or you said, no, this is just going to be a loss. Now yours probably say lost, mine says no sale. When you select that, it will ask you, why are you losing this? And this is another nice drop down. And I've seen teams put different competitors in here. Budget was out of range, out of service area. And so you can always run reports after the fact then on lost leads and, find some good low-hanging fruit there. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and push this to a quote. And by doing that, it's going to say, great, I'm ready to do that for you, but I have a few more questions. And so it's ready to turn lead number 123 into quote number 456 and create a proposal, and we'll start putting an estimate together. And it's saying, here's what I know so far, but now it's important to know job type, sales type, and system type. And depending on what accounting system you integrate with, some of these are live reads from that, or they may just be documented on the WeSuite side. But I'll say job type is commercial, sales type is a negotiated sale, and system type is, predominantly video, even though you can have multiple system types on the same job, or some people have kind of mixed system types in the choices themselves. But these are all very personalized to each of your systems. That way, again, I can run reports on any of these selections, or these could also drive other things. Like I now need an approval because it's a new job, or the proposal is going to look, going to have a picture of a family on the front rather than a building if I picked residential instead of commercial. So we can do a lot of good automation that way. I'm not doing a fixed price contract like a GSA schedule, but we could support that. I could queue in an engineer at this point. A lot of you have the sales team that now says, okay, queue in engineer Alex to actually put the job together. However, I'm going to do that myself today. And you can actually do that later as well and say, hey, I've already built the quote and added all the labor, assign it to an engineer to look it over and see if it is missing anything. Here's where I'm going to add that billing address. And then I could go ahead and say create this in WeEstimate or create and open this in Quote Anywhere. It doesn't matter which I select, it will always go to both. Just going and creating and opening in Quote Anywhere will literally open up Quote Anywhere for me, which we'll see now. And it is going to land me in the job that it has just created. So it created job number 22420. So if I go back to the opportunity, you can see the opportunity 14205 just created job number 22420. It automatically brought me right into Quote Anywhere, but I could very just as easily said, go to WeEstimate, and you're going to see the job sitting there on the top of the pile, ready to go and be estimated. So if you are not already using Quote Anywhere, I cannot stress enough that Quote Anywhere is the web-based version of WeEstimate. I mean, I've literally had clients jokingly call it WeEstimate Web. I can use it on my phone. I can open up any prior job, or you can continue to, work on jobs in WeEstimate for the most part and only use Quote Anywhere for quick things like resending a quote or checking the price or something like that. But now at this point, I can go ahead and, build out my quote and add all my items. So I will pause for some questions. I want to go back to a few more things on the lead side, and then I want to show the coming soon WeOpportunity in Quote Anywhere. So let me check the questions here. Okay, so a question had come in: if I load photos into WeUp, will they transfer automatically to Quote Anywhere? They don't automatically today in the WeOpportunity side, mostly because this lead number just created this bin number. And for those of you that know WeEstimate very well, a bin could have many jobs under it. So I would say right now, no, but now that we're merging WeOpportunity and WeEstimate together to all just be replaced by Quote Anywhere, it will just be a single project, and as we rewrite features, we'll be able to attach items that way. But what I would do in the meantime is, if there are important pictures that you want to move over to the estimating piece, is there's a folder in every job called supporting documents. I would add those photos or PDFs or whatever there. So I'll show you in just a second. Let this job open. And then we'll look at supporting docs. So I'll show you where it is. So I have a folder right here, supporting docs, right click, add documents, and I would put any, important pictures or cut sheets, Excel sheets, PDFs into this folder. I would say a lot of teams use this because if they do have anyone working on quotes with them, like engineering, or, there's also a nice feature that will auto save the job summary report when you win a job in this folder. That can then be exported to certain accounting systems automatically. That's what I would do. Okay, so I did want to show a few other important things. If you want to just run a report on all my open leads and where they are, right? Let's just go back to home base here. I log in the morning. I need to see what I need to do today. You could go to lead management and under view, just see all of your opportunities by status. And I can say, yep, I know I need to work on this lead, and go ahead and open it. You can also just search. So if I know I want to work with, John Alvarez, and search, it's going to pop up and say, there's your lead, right? It's just thinking and filtering, but Alvarez. And so it'll pop right up, and I say, yep, that's the lead I'm looking for, and go. This is also a very quick way to reassign leads. If you don't want to go and open the lead, go to the past lead tab, all that, I can literally drag and drop and say, this lead, I'm reassigning it from Joe to Johnny. And you could do this as an overall as well. Like if a salesperson is, left the organization, take all of Kevin Smith's leads and drop them all onto Sarah. Or you can do that more individually. I probably wouldn't pass sold leads. I would only pass open leads, so just drag and drop like that. But if you want to run a report on all of your leads, you would use the URG and save a view. Now, I go very slowly through this in a webinar I did, I think October or November, and it's also in the Teachable library. There's a very thorough, there's a whole class and videos about reporting that goes through it very slowly. But you can see I have a view already set for all leads. Let's say I'll change it to 2026, and I don't want sold or lost, and I'll just include leads on myself. But here I can see, and I don't have a lot going on in 2026, so let's do 2025 for Joe. I have 95 leads within my team, and I can then drill down into all the different data that is important to me. And so you can pick the data that you care about. Now, as a salesperson, maybe, this is pretty good in that I want to see, last time I touched it, the stage that I'm in, the estimated close date, the price. But maybe I also want their, the last note I wrote and the contact's email and phone number and name. And so now, and let's say I want to move some of this forward. I want the name, like the phone and email, up towards the front. And so you do have to kind of drag and drop like this and reorder your columns and get it the way you want it. But now I can, and I also personally filter by last update date. So I can see oldest to newest. I haven't touched this lead since March 12th, 2025. And again, this is another way to see, I haven't put budget in for these. I haven't put in a close date and I'm supposed to. So if you have, a report that you and the team or your sales manager said, hey, every Friday I need to submit, I need to see this report on your open leads, or they could run the same report in their system. They just might have this extra see other people button. But now I can go ahead and add this view if it's brand new, or in this case, I'm going to hit save, hit update view. And anytime I need to look at all my leads in order of having touched them, I just pull up this view. You can export this to Excel here. Again, you might filter it down to just column, the minimum columns that you need. You could also sort and filter by status and different things like that. But this is a really nice way to run down your list, calls or follow-ups that you need to do. Let's order it the other way. Oh, I haven't called this guy since August. If you hit any of these pencils, it'll open up a tab for the lead. And so I'll say personally, I go in here, I click all the pencils in which I care about and say, yeah, I want to talk to this guy. And then I'll go back and open up all the leads that I want to open. I mean, I've had some where I have 40 leads open at once. And I go in and I start doing my calls and entering in notes. And as that's happening, it's automatically updating this whole report. So after you've done all your updates for the day, refresh it one more time and you'll get real-time report ready to be sent. So I really, really stress creating at least one or two views for yourself. Like I have a view, just leads that I lost over the last, year or something, right? Maybe I'll go back to October to now. And it's going to give you a list. And of course, Joe hasn't lost anything because he's a champ, but you would see, let's put like on hold, deactivated, let's turn on everybody in the company. All right, we've lost 2 leads and I can say, okay, there's a column called lost reason. I could turn that on for this report. And then again, run down this and say, hey, are you still happy with so-and-so? Here, I didn't even put lost reasons for these 2 leads, but you see where I'm going there. All right, so with the last bit of time, I wanted to show the latest and greatest coming to Quote Anywhere. So we'll reset here. Quote Anywhere 6.12 is coming out and we'll have almost the final migration of all the WeOpportunity and WeEstimate features into the single platform. And so what you're going to see now, different from your 6.11 dashboard, is in 6.11, you really just had your jobs. And when I say just have, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the current version. I can pull up a quote that I have in WeEstimate. Let's open up the same quote, 22418. There's my Selena AI coming to get us. It's a little bleeding edge here because we have our new AI tools, which I'll also try to talk about briefly. But here's this job. And you can see I have my customer screen, doesn't like this job, but I have my customer screen, job screen, document screen, and it's a mirror of all of these buttons here at the top. Okay. Now with 612, which we'll go into, I'll be able to have all my reporting, all the admin, and I'll also be able to create my leads, which are the sales projects. So let's create a new project, and we're going to follow the same steps. We're going to assign a customer. So I'm going to do Valley Hospital again. And if it's anything new, you just do new at the top, but I'm just going to use current customer. And we're going to start this as an opportunity. I want my project to be, it's automatically assuming customer name, but if you want, I can always say, you know, Valley Hospital Video System. We're going to stay lead stage. We're at the first meeting. It's an incoming email from a referral, market vertical healthcare. You can see it's just a reflection of everything we did earlier today on the call. And then we've added a new feature, like we basically rewrote questionnaires and all this stuff to give you the flexibility to create any custom field that you want. So I have a custom field called square footage, and I can say less than 1,000 square feet. But your data points can really be anything. They could be drop downs, text boxes, radio buttons, true false selections. So in addition to all the out of the box fields WeSuite provides, you can create any of your own custom. And then I can assign ownership at this point and say, am I going to keep this, or am I going to pass to a user or a pass group, which we talked about earlier. But I'm going to keep it, so I'm going to hit create. And so now I've created lead number, project number 22564, and it's in a lead phase right now. I'm going to add the site address, which again, I have a lot already to select from either WeSuite or accounting. Or I could pick new, and I'm going to do the same thing for main point of contact. There's George. Now I'll move to sales overview, and we'll continue to qualify this lead. We'll move it further along in the pipeline. We'll put that estimated $5,000 budget, $200 a month. I think this was closed at the end of February. And so you can see we've just recreated, you know, all of WeOpportunity here into the Quote Anywhere interface. I can add my notes, so I'll add a new note. You know, spoke to George, walk through of new building today, and I'll have my history. Now, the biggest piece left to be rewritten into Quote Anywhere's CRM WeOpportunity piece is the calendar. And so you'll see that in the next version coming out. But at this point, once I've qualified this lead and I'm ready to go to a quote, I'm going to select this RFQ, which is going to give me then again that next screen, right, where I'm going to say job type is commercial, system type is video, and I could pick an engineer or a fixed price contract, and we'll move forward. And this is also where you could pick folder level. It's equivalent to here, if you've ever used this drop down where instead of just one folder, you know, maybe I want to rename this building 1. Wait, I need to do level 2 first, sorry. A lot of you either use this heavily or maybe never touched it at all, but we can go up to 3 layers of folders. And so if I said I had building 1, and then inside of building 1, video system, you know, access system, and then I could create building 2, and you see where I'm going there. So if you wanted to do a level 2 or a level 3, you would select that at the very start of the job. Go ahead and hit create. And I think the biggest thing is that it's now taken that project and just moved it to a quote phase. The number is still the same, but it's added that -1, -0. So you can still create more J's in a bin, J1, J2, J3, And then for those of you that don't know, this last -0 is number of change orders within this bin, which you can also do, or sorry, within this job. This is the bin, this is the jobs in the bin, and this is number of change orders in that job. And so now I can continue forward. I can add my folders, new folder, we'll do video system, and I'll rename this folder access control. Now I will say my creature of habit, I right click things to rename. It was built to be agnostic to devices, so there is no right click on an iPad or a tablet. So everything is really made with a button. So whether you're on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, you'll be able to use this. And it actually works really nicely on a phone. It shrinks to size, so you feel like you're in a mobile app, but you're just in a browser on your phone. But now again, I'll go back to my WeEstimate sandbox, refresh my dashboard here, and there's it's been logged in for a while. Let me log off. And here's my Valley Hospital job now, sitting here. And all I've done is add 2 folders, access and video. So everything is live syncing at the same time. This is not, a lot of you may just replace WeEstimate and WeOpportunity altogether, but it's all syncing the same. All your history will be there. We took an immense amount of care into making sure that this is kind of the latest version of the software without having you migrate to a whole new software. So I can come back now to the project level of this job, and I can continue to enter in my notes and move the pipeline forward, and you're not logging into one tool and out of another tool. So we're really, really excited to show this all to you guys, and hope to get it in everyone's sandboxes soon and promote it to live, so that you can use the all-in-one Quote Anywhere piece. So that is the rest of my agenda today. So we'll open the floor for questions, if there are any. Hopefully this looks good, and maybe even just some comments on how it looks would be awesome. And yeah, if we don't have any questions, Janina can walk us through upcoming schedule for February.
All right, no questions so far.
Alrighty.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope that you've learned some good information to take back for yourselves and share with your teams. If you need to refer to this webinar again, it will be posted on our website by this time tomorrow, on our website under Education, Training, and Webinars. And don't forget to mark your calendars for our upcoming webinars. So on February 10th, we're going to be discussing proposal document editor feature and system defaults. And on February 17th, we're going to be discussing users, regions, offices, and groups, and Quote Anywhere. Okay. Oh, we got a question, Sam. Is there reporting out of QA from Josh?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was just showing my screen here. Yes, you have in 612, you will have the reporting feature. So the URG, WeOpportunity URG feature I was talking about earlier, you'll have that in Quote Anywhere as well, so that you can view, here's that forecast report that, we were working on, and you can add any of those columns, change the date filters, the users, the stages, save that as a report. And then now you'll be able to export that and see that same kind of grid of information. And so it'll come out looking like this. Give it a second for that Excel to open. And so like the pencils, since we wrote this in the new technology, rather than those grid styles, you kind of assign the fields you want, and then it spits out like this. And then I could click any of these hyperlinks of the jobs, and it'll open right to that job for me in the web. And also coming, I can't demonstrate it for you 100% right now, but we have been working on our own Selena AI tool. It's integrated with WeSuite first, and will be in a number of places initially. One is at the scope of work. You'll be able to speak to text into Selena um, about the scope of work or the project, and then Selena will write up a scope of work for you. I know a lot of people are already going to like a ChatGPT or something like that for writing scopes of work, so that was really number one. And the big difference is that it's embedded right in the tool. You don't have to go out and type in a whole bunch of stuff. It already knows you, your system, your job, the manufacturers you use, to really start learning from you and writing those scopes of work. You can say include a schedule and it'll pop in a schedule. That'll also be in cover letter. And then in the URG portion of it, it will essentially analyze the data that you have in these columns. So if I picked, these 12 columns and then said, okay, Selena, analyze this data, Selena will take the information from the report, spit out a quick analysis first, and then you'll be able to prompt it with questions just like you would ChatGPT. And so you could say, hey, based on this data, what's our close ratio this month? Or, what's our most profitable market vertical? And so you can start to ask it questions and it will, spit out those answers rather than just having a lot of data and trying to understand what to do with it. And yeah, now the questions are flooding in. So let me, reporting leads, I should say. Yes.
Is there
So,
going to be, yeah, spot in the new code anywhere where you can add documents?
so that's kind of what came up with the original question about adding pictures. Not yet, but as we rewrite, we're literally rewriting all the features of WeOpportunity and WeEstimate into Code Anywhere, again, to not have any migration off of this database. So that will come. And then the idea would be that under the project itself, you'd be able to attach something. Like it is here, we just converted over supporting docs. So if you're familiar with supporting docs, so WeEstimate, you can hit add and you can browse your supporting documents. And we also added a way to categorize them. And there's also a new feature where you could say include this document as a page of my proposal. So by doing that, I added a cut sheet or a case study, or someone recently, they have their license as a page, and that's changes every year. So they don't want to hard code it; they can upload it there. So something like this. So yes, in that it's there in Code Anywhere as long as you've promoted to an RFQ stage and it's a job. Yes, you can attach whatever you want: pictures, documents, all that stuff. We just need to also make that available pre-RFQ and in like the lead phase itself. Question: when a sales consultant leaves the computer, sorry, when
Leaves
sales,
the
oh,
company?
sorry, leaves the company and is deactivated in WeUp, how do you account for their lead numbers in reviewing reporting, such as lead by count? Okay, good question. I would deactivate them from being able to like log in the system. So I would deactivate them from the license of the application. That means that you're not billed for that user anymore, but still keep them active as somebody, so still keep the account enabled. That way, if you run a report for 2025 or 2024, you see them and the dollar value they contributed to that period of time, but their license is deactivated and no one is physically logging into that user anymore, so you're not billed for that user. And you do have to bring that to the attention of our billing team if you reduce users, so that then you don't see that on the next billing cycle. But de-license them, but keep them enabled as an account, because like you said, you do want to see their historical numbers. And then when you really like it's old enough that you don't need to see their name in there anymore, then you can disable the account, completely. And you can always see inactive users by checking this box. Um, and this is in the Code Anywhere side too. You would all the admin stuff, not this one, but for those of you that are admins on the call, we've literally rewritten everything: system config, regions, offices, groups, approvals. I mean, you'll be able to go, yeah, users. So everything I was just talking about, look up Joe. Joe's not with the company anymore. I can change his user info, his licensing, people manager, quotas, approvals. I mean, pretty much everything that you see in this tools menu is being rewritten piece by piece, and the bulk of it is in this 6.12 release. I kind of been saying it's like, think of it like 90% of the features have been rewritten, and now we're working on some of the other big pieces. Um, so hopefully that answered your question, Alyssa. All right. Anything else while I'm here? I think I covered it. But yeah, we're really the bulk of our agendas going forward is going to be a little bit of a mixture. We know there's tools you're using day to day now that I want to make sure your new users and current users are given the most, getting refresher training on. But we also want to give insight into all the new features coming and really work with teams to get those into your users' hands and to start moving into this new web-based phase of Lee Suite. We're really excited about. So, all right, there was my encore. We're done now, Janina.
Thank you so much, everyone, and hope to see you in our next webinar. Okay, have a good day. Bye.